guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a 3 looks 1 palette video using the new Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette. This is their holiday release. I'm also going to do lip swatches of the 6 liquid lipsticks that are in the holiday collection. Just full disclosure, this was sent to me in PR, but as always I'd give it my 100% honest review, but just so you're aware, I did not pay for these. I did also get the blush kits and the glow kit in PR. However, I'm not going to be reviewing them because I'm going to be giving them away. I have way too many highlighters and blushes already. It's just going to go to waste if I have them. So I'm gonna give them to friends and maybe keep 1 or 2 of them for a future giveaway. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on the palette so far. I've used it twice. I'm about to film 2 more looks. These are the colors. I feel like this palette is, like, I love the colors in this palette, but I feel like it's a palette that works best using with other palettes. I struggled quite a bit creating this look because I couldn't quite figure out what colors to go together. Like, I knew I wanted to use this yellow and this like green color, but like there's no in between there, and so then I had to go into some of the warmer tones, and I feel like it's just a palette that is a little like jumbled up when you're just using it by itself. However, it's going to go so well with Subculture. I'm going to do a 3 looks video using this and Subculture together, same as I did with Subculture and Modern Renaissance, just because the colors complement each other so beautifully. And I feel like the shimmers that are in this palette complement the mattes in the Subculture palette, and they're just going to work really well together. I do love the colors though. The only thing is I kind of wish there's a lot of like warm toned matte colors. Like we've got this kind of neutral brown, got this warm orange, this like corally color. I wish there was more of like a cranberry color, like something a little darker and slightly more warm toned than this. I feel like that would work really well in this palette. There's 3 bronzy gold shades, and I feel like you could easily just take this one out and put another matte in there, and I feel like that would be beautiful. But all 3 of those bronzy gold shades are beautiful, so I'm not upset about having all 3 of them in there. I am a little disappointed. Both of these shimmery shades have a very heavy black base to them, so they don't show up quite as metallic as I thought they were going to be. On my eyes, I'm using the shade Throne, and it's like, it's nice, but I was expecting something more just metallic green rather than, it's like a duochrome black and green. I'm just not a huge fan of it. It's just something that I personally would prefer if it was just more of a solid green color, but like that's just my personal preference. All in all though, the colors blend beautifully. This is very different to the Subculture palette. It is more like the Modern Renaissance. There is a lot of fallout, but nothing crazy. I didn't actually get a lot of fallout under my eyes at all. It's just like a lot of kick up in the palette. I'll just show you quickly with this Sphere shade. I'm dipping into it and there is kick up, but obviously I'm not going to be digging into it that hard when I'm picking anything up anyway, but there is kick up. It is kind of powdery and loosely pressed, but it's not like Subculture. I haven't had any trouble blending even with the darker shades like this Parallel or Obsidian. I personally didn't have too much trouble with Subculture anyway. I do see how people would have troubles with it, but I definitely think there's some type of inconsistencies there because I didn't have any of the patchiness where the color like lifted up while it was blending or anything like that. But this is definitely a lot easier to use than Subculture, but I feel like the matte shades are just more easy to use than like the deep greens that Subculture had anyway. All in all, I really like this palette so far. Quality's great. Some of the colors I would prefer to be slightly different, but I love them anyway. Not something I would use on its own. I would definitely use this in conjunction with other palettes most often. Alright, so now I've gotten all of my thoughts on the palette out of the way. I'm just going to do lip swatches of all 6 of the holiday collection liquid lipsticks. I'm going to start off with the mini set. Also, I don't know if this was something that happened a while ago because I haven't gotten any new Anastasia liquid lipsticks since I think it was September last year, but the wand has changed. I'm not sure if that's something that happened like closer to a year ago or if it's something that happened fairly recently, but I really like the new wand. The old wand is like the typical doe foot applicator. It's just pretty much your standard applicator, nothing special about it. The new one though is more thin. It reminds me of the NYX lip lingerie applicators, but these ones are easier to use because they're not quite as long. I feel like this applicator is a lot easier to use than the old one, but it's nothing crazy. So if you're still used to the old applicator, you're not going to have too much trouble with it or anything like that. Just thought it was something worth mentioning. Again, I don't know if that's something new to this collection or if they've been like that for a while, but yeah. Alright, so those are the 6 liquid lipsticks in the holiday collection. I'm just going to get straight into the 3 eye looks using the Prism palette. So yeah, if you'd like to see 3 looks using Prism, then just keep watching.
So this first look is a little more unconventional. I've used some of the greens in the palette and paired it with some yellow spots in the inner corner. I'm starting off with the shade Sphere, which is this like vibrant yellow shade, and I'm just running this all the way through my crease from the inner to outer corners, and I'm also going to take it onto my lower lash line. Next I'm taking the shade Throne and I'm patting this on the lid. I've just wet my brush with some setting spray so that it will show up as metallic as possible, and I'm just putting it all over my lid. I'm not worried about how blended it is or anything, because I'm going to go in with another shade to blend the 2 shades together. All I'm after is getting it to full opacity. Next I'm taking this warm tone brown shade Parallel, and I'm using this to blend the yellow shade and the green shade together. I'm just going to go in with a light hand and slowly build up the color so that I don't add any more patchiness to it, and I'm just going to keep blending until you can't see any harsh lines like there was previously with that green shade. Next I'm taking the shade Pyramid and I'm putting this in my inner corner and bringing it into the inner third of my lid, and then I'm going back in with that green shade Throne and I'm just adding that and kind of blending the gold and the green shades together, and I'm also just adding some more green onto the lid to make it pop a little more. I'm then going in with Sphere again, just in that inner corner area to make sure everything is blended, and then going in with Parallel just to deepen up that outer corner. Next I'm going in with the shade Satin, and I'm going to add this to my lower lash line just to contrast the green a little. I'm just running this the whole way along my lower lash line, and then I'm going back in with Sphere just to make sure everything is blended. I'm then just taking Lucid and using this to highlight my inner corner. Now it's time to add spots to the inner corner. I'm using my NYX Vivid Brights liner. This is just the yellow one. I'm adding just a bunch of random spots in the inner third of my eye. I'm keeping them all slightly above my natural crease, and doing this just gives the illusion that I've got a little more lid space than I actually have. Similar to how doing a half cut crease just above the natural crease makes it seem like the crease is higher than it actually is. And then I've just put on some mascara and falsies off camera. These are my Eyelure Faux Mink lashes. I'm going to be using these lashes for all three of the looks. And then just finishing the look off with the Hudson liquid lipstick from the mini set. This next look is basically your classic warm-toned bronzy halo eye. I have to do one of these in every 3 looks video. I'm starting off with the shade Eden, and I'm just running this all the way through my crease, all the way to my inner corner and outer corner. I'm just making sure it's super blown out and blended, and I'm also taking it along my lower lash line. Next I'm taking the shade Satin, and I'm just using this to intensify the inner and outer corners and also the lower lash line. I'm just keeping it a little further in the crease than I did with the previous shade, but again I'm making sure it is all super blended and blown out. Next I'm taking my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, and I'm just adding this into the center of the lid to give a nice base for the shimmer to stick onto for the halo eye, and also just so that I can really define that crease area. Next I'm taking the shade Eternal on a wet brush, and I'm just placing this wherever I placed the concealer, and then I'm taking the shade Pyramid and I'm just adding this right in the center just to give it a little more of a highlight, which will make my eyes seem a little bigger and make the shimmer pop a little bit more. And then just going back in with the shade Satin, just on the same fluffy brush, and I'm just using this to blend the shimmer shades into the matte shades. Next I'm taking the shade Parallel, and I'm just going to use this to deepen up the inner and outer corners, just to give a little more contrast between the shimmer shades on the lid and the matte shades in the crease. And I'm also just going to take that shade onto the lower lash line as well. And then I'm just taking a little bit of Obsidian, and I'm going to use this to deepen up the outer third as well as the lower lash line. I'm just using a really light hand with this and going in with a tiny amount because I don't want it to be too smoky. I just want to add a little more definition. And then just going back in with the same brush I had Parallel on just to blend that all out. And then to highlight my inner corner, I'm first adding the shade Dimension and then topping that with the shade Lucid. And then once again, I've just put on some falsies and mascara off camera, and I'm finishing this look off with the liquid lipstick Rock Sand. This third look, I used all of the cooler, more purplish tones that are in the palette and paired it with the one cool toned liquid lipstick in the holiday collection. I'm starting off with the shade Lure, which reminds me a lot of the shade Buon Fresco from the Modern Renaissance palette, which is one of my favorite cool tone transition shades. I'm just running this all the way through my crease, making sure I'm focusing some of it on the outer third and then bringing it onto the lower lash line. Next I'm taking the shade Dimension, and I'm just putting this all over my lid. I'm even bringing it up a little into the crease area because I'm really after that super metallic, almost wet look kind of lid. And then I'm going back in with the same brush that I had Lure on just to blend all of that out and make sure there's no harsh lines. And then I'm taking the shade Lucid and I'm adding this into the inner corner, bringing it a little into the inner third as well. I'm also just going to highlight my brow bone with this shade. Next I'm taking the shade Parallel and I'm just using this to slightly darken up the outer V of my eye. I'm just using a really light hand with this because I don't want the brown to overtake the whole look. I still want it to be very purple toned. I just need a little more definition. And then lastly I'm taking the shade Throne and I'm running this along my lower lash line. Unfortunately, from doing 3 looks in a row, wiping it all off and putting more makeup under my under eyes are very dry, so this did accentuate a lot of the fine lines that are under my eyes because it's a metallic shade, but usually this would look gorgeous under the eyes. And then lastly I'm just finishing this look off with the liquid lipstick Trouble.
Alright, so those are the finished looks. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This lip color is my favorite from the bunch, by the way. It goes so well with my hair. I love it. I hope this video was helpful for you if you are looking at getting the palette. If it was, or if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if this is your first time joining me, then feel free to subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.